What's going on, everybody? Ronan here. Before we get into today's video, I just want to take the time to shout out our Shogun tier member, Adam Jimenez. Thank you very much for the support. Hey everyone, Ronan here, and I want to welcome you back to the channel. Today, we have reached the penultimate spot of What If Ash won the Sinnoh League. But before we get into that episode, I'm going to need you to take a look at this analytical stat bar right here. You guys know the drill by now. And make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Turn on notifications so that you never miss another upload from the channel. But with all that being said, let's get into What If Ash won the Sinnoh League Part 15. I hope you enjoy. Today, we are back in the second half of the Sinnoh Elite Four Challenge. It's here we find Ash, around 4 days out from the conversation he had with Flint. The words that he said keep playing in our young hero's mind. He wasn't good enough. The last two battles Ash had were subpar. If Ash hopes to win, then he will need to up his game. This has replayed in his head for days. Normally, Ash would rely on his friends for support here. Unfortunately, the only one here with him is Dawn, who has been preoccupied with her own endeavors. This isn't the normal Ash we're expecting. Self-doubt has been something that our hero has long since conquered, or so we thought. We see this in play when Ash is doing a simple training session with Pikachu, 3 days before the battle with Flint. Their timing is off. Ash can't seem to get it down, with his thoughts clouded by the words of Flint. Things are amped up when a Thunderbolt is off on its timing and Ash ends up in its crosshairs. Fortunately for him, there is a guardian angel that has been looking out from afar. Ash freezes in a panic from the Thunderbolt, but is surprised when a Thunderbolt intercepts it. Turning, Ash is greeted with a very recent rival in Wagner. Ash, you okay? You kind of froze up there. Shaking off the haziness, Ash greets Wagner, thanking him for the save. No problem, the gym leader says. But what was that all about? Why didn't you just dodge the Thunderbolt? Well, you see, it's a long story. You may not have time to hear it. On the contrary, actually, I'm gonna be here for the rest of the Champions League. I have some business afterwards, so you can say I'm on vacation until then. Okay. Then Ash's stomach grumbles. So it's been a few since you last ate, Wagner questions. Yeah, I guess so. We've been out here for so long that we lost track of time. Well, tell you what, let's head back into the Pokemon Center and you can tell me about the issues you're having. So after a brief walk back and a massive meal, Ash breaks down what Flint said, but goes into more detail. He said I didn't deserve to be here. I've been lucky to this point. Wagner listens with attentiveness. Once Ash finishes his explanation, he doesn't really get a response at first, but is met with a laugh that breaks the awkward silence. Well, that sounds like Flint. Puzzled, Ash asks Wagner to elaborate. Well, do you remember when I was going through my depression and didn't want to battle? Flint knew I could do better. He tried to motivate me with one of his serious speeches, but it didn't work. Sounds like he did the same with you. He just wants you to bring the best you can to this battle. Well, he sure has a strange way of showing it, Ash says. But now, he's got my timing all off. That's a simple fix, Wagner says. How about you and me spend the next few days getting it back? We will train together until your match. Really? Ash says excitedly. What do you think, Pikachu? The Thunder Rodent sparks in approval. Anything to get them out of this funk. Now, we flash to 3 days into the future, as Ash stands across from Flint. The two have been read the rules of their match. Same as the last two, but the only difference is Flint. Ash says nothing, while Flint is full of words. I hope you brought a better fight here than the one you've had over the last 2 weeks. But nothing from Ash. Just a look. One Flint is determined to get an answer from. But the time for talk is over. They have been given their signs to choose their first Pokemon. Being the defending trainer here, Flint has to make the first choice. And it's one that Ash knows all too well. Burnape, go! Flint yells, sending in the one Pokemon that Ash has ever seen him use. Remembering the last time they battled, this thing Ash knows full well and what it's capable of. Without missing a beat, Ash chooses to lead with speed. Swallow, I choose you! Bursting into the skies, Swallow streaks past his opponent. Well, Ash, that Swallow of yours seems pretty fast, but it won't be enough. Flint was hoping for a reaction, but Ash has taken on a Bertha-like stoic demeanor in an attempt of blocking out Flint's patronizing. That was the biggest tip Wagner gave to him over their training. Flint will try to throw Ash off, make him second-guess himself. Ash's way of dealing with this is just to ignore Flint, but that could come back to bite him too. Not engaging with his opponent is something Ash really doesn't do. This could throw him out of sync with his Pokemon again. We see this in the first exchange of the battle, when Ash calls for an aerial ace. Normally, Swallow will execute this flawlessly, but it's a little little opening, giving Flint the chance to mount a defense when he orders a close combat on the ground. This causes rocks to fly up in Swallow's line of flight. Ash frantically tries to recover, ordering Swallow to pull up. Unfortunately though, it's hit with the barrier, causing harm to itself. This wasn't enough to end the battle, but enough to show that what Ash was trying to prevent was already happening. Flint has claimed real estate in Ash's head, so the question is, will he actually be charged rent? Anyway, Ash shakes off this exchange, following up with Swallow to make sure it's okay. Squawking, Ash knows that they're all good to go. Wanting to keep his distance, Ash orders an air slash. Shooting a sphere of air at Infernape, Ash is feeling confident about this one. Unfortunately, Infernape quickly dispatches of it with a thunder punch that bursts the air balloon in one hit. Infernape's hand is a little sore, but the damage is minimal. My turn, Flint says. Infernape, use bulk up. Now swelling with power, the fire chimp hardens its body, increasing both its attack and defense. Not liking where this is going, Ash orders a double team from Swallow. Focusing its mind, the bird multiplies as a barrage speeds towards Infernape with a charged aerial ace. In order to counter this, Flint commands one big attack, Flare Blitz. Infernape charges in, taking all these copies head on. But yet again, Swallow loses this exchange. Ash is at a loss here. Everything he's tried is countered. Why can't he seem to get through? Flint's not that strong of a trainer. Unfortunately, Ash has little time to reconcile his thoughts as Infernape is back on the attack with a Thunder Punch. Knowing he has to do something, Ash counters with a quick attack, telling Swallow to climb higher. Luck seems to be on their side, as Infernape is unable to catch its prey. For now, the two-tailed bird is safe. However, Ash can't keep running forever. Swallow is just gonna tire out eventually and get caught. Then something clicks. Maybe that's what I want. Unfortunately, time is not on his side, as Flint has commanded Infernape to use a Flare Blitz, using the wall of the stadium as a platform to launch itself. This will put Swallow in striking range. Without a moment to spare, Ash calls for a double team, swiftly avoiding the attack by millimeters. Smiling, Ash gives Swallow the command for an aerial ace. Flint orders a Thunder Punch to counter. However, Swallow's evasiveness allows it to blur right past Infernape so it can land its first successful hit of this match. Unfortunately, this wasn't that much damage with the bulk up in play. It's here Flint decides to stack on the difficulty with another bulk up. Tightening his body once more, Infernape yells a battle cry of confidence, ready for their next exchange. Looking over his Pokemon, Ash can see that Swallow is at the point to where a solid hit could end this, so he decides to keep up the pressure, calling for another double team. Swallow multiplies itself once more. However, this time it's different. Instead of aerial ace, it's backed with a quick attack. This allows Ash's Bird of Hone to get in and land without any danger, successfully landing hit after hit. Unfortunately for Ash, Flint is no fool. Biding his time, the Master of Fire builds his presence with a combination of bulk ups and thunder punches. Things eventually come to a head when Swallow is tired enough, giving Infernape the opening needed to crack it with a thunder punch when it comes down for an attack. This allows the supercharged baboon to end Swallow with one very destructive hit, driving the bird into the ground and ending this battle. Ash recalls Swallow, thanking it for the effort that it put in. Looking down at his opponent, Ash feels something isn't right. That battle seemed like it was going well, but for some reason, it just seems off to him. But he's not going to let Flint get in his head. Knowing he needs something to hit hard, Ash looks to Pikachu. You ready, buddy? Electricity jolts from the mouse's cheeks as it's ready to take on the starter of Flint. So Ash, are we feeling a little bit desperate already? Flint asks. No, Ash remarks, finally breaking the silence between the two. Flint laughs. I knew I would get you to talk eventually. Did Wagner tell you not to let me get in your head? Ash chooses to remain quiet after this, wondering how Flint knew what he was thinking. Well, Ash, if you're not going to answer me, then let the battle do the talking. Infernape, use Flare Blitz. Melting the field with the intensity of the flames, Infernape charges Pikachu. Knowing he needs to respond, Ash orders a Volt Tackle. Colliding with the force of fire and thunder, the two appear to be even. At first. Then, the truth of the matter is revealed. Infernape far outclasses Pikachu with all of the bulk ups in play. The Thunder Mouse is quickly overpowered, sending it into the stadium barrier with a deafening thud. Pikachu, Ash screams, but his worries are put to rest when it stands back up a little wobbly from that exchange. Looking at the mouse, Ash can see the indent in the wall from where it hit. That was a powerful Flare Blitz, Ash thinks. Maybe I should recall Pikachu for now. That is, until a cry from Infernape breaks Ash's thoughts. His flinch from the recoil has a little extra to it. A paralysis courses through the baboon. Suddenly, Ash can see a path to victory. Pikachu, can you keep going? Shaking off the cobwebs, Pikachu jumps back in. Calling for a Thunderbolt, Ash hopes to catch the stun here, but Flint is quickly able to neutralize it with a Thunder Punch. Keeping on the pressure, Ash tells Pikachu, it's time. Agile style, Iron Tail. Zipping in, the mouse cracks Infernape with its tail. While these are not very strong on the surface, they do what Ash wants, tiring out Infernape. Flint knows his Mon is about to hit its limit, so he wants to take something with it. So, he orders one last Flare Blitz. Knowing his options are limited, Ash calls for a strong-style Volt Tackle. Putting everything they have into this attack, Pikachu charges down the battlefield, with one target in mind. Both trainers watch as this clash is far more even than the last one. Then, it happens, what Ash was hoping for. Paralysis has hit Infernape, causing it to lose its footing. This allows Pikachu to slowly inch through the defense of Infernape until the mouse has gained the momentum needed to hit the Kong with its most powerful attack. This knocks Infernape to the ground, while Pikachu tumbles from the force of the attack, rolling to a stop. Yes, Ash thinks, we did it, but Infernape is able to stand back up. Not understanding what happened, Flint elaborates on this altercation, saying that was close, but a Thunder Punch prevented that from being a loss for him. Then, Ash flashes back. At the last second, Infernape put up a fist. It sparked, which Ash thought was the paralysis, but in reality, it was the Thunder Punch. Ash then looks at Pikachu. It's struggling to stand. Any movement on its part, and it will fall in defeat. Ash decides to recall it, knowing that any further battle right now will put it in danger. Once Pikachu is safely at his side, Ash assesses the situation. One Pokemon down and another one not far behind, making this a tough spot to be in. But Flint's Infernape has been heavily damaged. Taking a moment to admire the endurance of Flint's Infernape, he decides that it's time for his own. Infernape, I choose you! The Sinnoh starter hits the field fresh from its recovery, ready and able to battle. Ash knows he has to be careful here. Even though on paper it looks like they may have the advantage, Flint's Fire Monkey has proven to be just as capable as his. With the start of the battle announced, the two waste no time getting down to business. The one thing Ash has going for him is speed. Infernape far outclasses its counterpart. Starting big, the two exchange Flare Blitz, with Flint's Infernape taking the lead due to its stat buff. Unfortunately, it takes a knee from recoil. This is it, Ash thinks. Infernape, use Dig. Burrowing down, Infernape gains the advantage of surprise. Knowing that this is the last stretch for his starter, Flint orders it to be ready. Then the People's Champ surfaces, throwing everything it has into the dig. This is what Flint was waiting for. Having battled many times using this strategy, his Infernape knew what the setup was, letting his opponent hit so that they can counter it with one final move that won't miss. Thunder Punch! Though Flint loses this clash as his Mon falls in defeat, the strike of the Thunder Punch was a clean hit, leaving behind a gift that Ash had given it. Paralysis. With Ash finally able to drop Flint's first Pokemon, he breathes a sigh of relief. But not for long, as the status condition of Infernape becomes known when it flinches and sparks. Great. Thanks for the gift, Ash murmurs sarcastically. What was that, Ash? I couldn't hear you, Flint replies, as confident as ever. It's here that Ash again has that feeling. Something is off. Why does this battle feel so different? It doesn't make any sense. Yet again, Ash chooses to push this feeling back, recalling Infernape to save it for a little later. Flint chooses to engage in conversation again, saying he doesn't think Ash's lineup is looking too hot. He might want to just call it quits now. He's had a good run, but it would be better for everyone if he just forfeited. It's here that everything clicks with Ash. The taunting, the mind games. Flint wants me to lose this battle. Not on the field, but in my head. Then, a burst of laughter can be heard from Ash. Wow, I psyched myself out so much that I became my own worst enemy. I let Flint get in my head without even knowing it. It's here Flint smiles. So you figured it out, he thinks. Good, then I will finally get the battle that I've been waiting for. Rapidash, go! It's here, Ash decides to go with his ace in the hole. Snorlax, I choose you. Quaking the field, the half-ton Titan is awake with a full belly and ready to battle. Hey Flint, let's make this a good one. I expect it to be Ash. Rapidash, use Sunny Day. Flaring its flames, the heat of the sun reacts, making this battle that much more intense. However, that's the reason Ash chose Snorlax. Its ability, Thick Fat, will help with the battle for those fire types. Not wanting to lose this chance, Ash orders a Body Slam. Throwing all of its weight in the direction of the horse, Snorlax strikes it with an immense girth as Rapidash charges the sun. Sliding back and digging in its hoofs, the Fire Stallion counters with a Heat Wave at the command of its trainer. Blasting Snorlax with an extreme gust of heat, the big belly behemoth yawns, while Ash and even Flint have to shield themselves from the conditions that have been created. Even though Snorlax is taking minimal damage, Ash needs to end this. Snorlax, use Ice Punch into the attack. Charging his knuckles, Ash's Mon fires Ice Thrust into the flaming storm. Slowly, a veil of steam takes shape, dampening the attack of Rapidash and blocking some of the sun. This hides Snorlax as it moves its tubby frame through the surrounding area. Not wanting to wait, Flint orders a bounce from Rapidash. Suddenly, a burst pushes itself above the cloud, with Ash and the Hidden Terror watching and waiting for their chance. Then Ash sees it. Snorlax, be ready. Rapidash has locked onto its target. bringing its full weight down. But Ash has been waiting for this. Snorlax, jump! Putting all of its power into this, Snorlax emerges from the haze, much to the surprise of Flint and Rapidash. Charging an Ice Punch at the command of Ash, Snorlax takes the brunt of its enemy attack before landing the Ice move, sending Rapidash into the floor below. Now things are in Ash's favor. The leg that Snorlax hit is frozen, and now that it's falling, Ash calls for a body slam. This brings the full weight of Snorlax down at a frightening pace. Unable to dodge the attack, Flint orders Rapidash to steady itself. When Snorlax brings its tons of fun in for a landing, Flint orders one last move, Poison Jab. Now glowing in a purple aura, Rapidash thrusts its horn into its opponent as it lands with the ground shaking in tremor. Ash orders Snorlax to stand up, revealing a very flattened and unresponsive mare. Flint recalls Rapidash, thanking it for the battle. It didn't win, but it set them up. Ash notices that Snorlax is looking a little off, tired from that last battle. So, he recalls it for now. Very clever, Ash. Your Snorlax is pretty fast for its size. Smiling, if you thought that was fast, you haven't seen anything yet, Flint. With it now Flint's turn to choose the next Pokemon, he leads with his ever-faithful demon dog, Houndoom. Landing gingerly on the field, Ash has a brief flashback to his battle with Derek. I hope he's not as aggressive as that one. Well, how about it, buddy? You ready for another battle? Pikachu nods, leaping into position. Ash has to be careful here. Pikachu has already taken damage, so every hit needs to count. Starting the battle, Flint commands a nasty plot. Houndoom begins grinning with a sinister look in its eyes. However, Ash isn't one to stand by and let this go unpunished. Pikachu, use Agile Style Quick Attack. Zipping around the battlefield, the Thunder Rodent strikes in succession repeatedly before Houndoom could even get off its first Dark Pulse or Sludge Bomb that Flint had ordered. That's it, Ash tells Pikachu. We have to use speed. A little peeved from the miss of its attacks, Houndoom charges in with its mouth ablaze. That's Fire Fang. Pikachu, use Agile Style Iron Tail. Evading the chomp attempt on it, Pikachu knocks Houndoom in the head, just above the snout with the attack. And before it can break contact, Ash calls for it. Now use Strong Style Thunderbolt. Dumping all the electricity it has into the attack, Houndoom is lit up like a Christmas tree. Knowing things are not in their favor, and out of pure desperation, Flint calls for a Sludge Bomb. Fighting the stun factor of the electricity in the system, Houndoom slowly turns its head and launches the attack. It lands, separating the two. Pikachu is feeling that hit, struggling back to its feet, while Houndoom still stands. That's not good. Pikachu won't be able to take another attack. Fortunately for the mouse, as it gets to the feet, Houndoom collapses. The damage that it took from the strong style was too much. Now we flash over to the Champions Box where we see a semi-familiar sight. Cynthia's watching on. This battle drew a line in the sand early on in the match, with the way Flint was antagonizing Ash. Her possibly soon-to-be opponent has gained her cheers, in hopes that he will win, while only two members of the Elite Four, Aaron and Lucian, look on. So Lucian, if Ash can win, that means you're up next. Are you ready to end this run if he does? Well, Aaron, that's a little short-sighted way to look at things. I prefer to think what would happen when we battle. If he is the better trainer, then he will be, but that doesn't mean I will just roll over. Speaking of rolling over, where's Bertha, Aaron asks. Don't worry about it. She has been part of the Elite Four far longer than you or I. She used to be the highest-ranking member, so she has earned her right to do as she pleases. Whatever you say, boss. Back with Flint, he's surprised Pikachu is still standing. That thing is really stubborn, much like its trainer. Smiling as he recalls a Houndoom, Flint breaks the silence with his opponent. You know, Ash, even though things started off a little rocky in our battle, I'm really enjoying myself. I'd have to agree, Flint. Things have been fun, which it'll mean that much more when we win. Well, Ash, we'll have to see about that. Flareon, go! The Fire Evolution glides on fire to the field. Assessing his options, Ash knows that Pikachu may not have long, so he decides to keep it in, to give his team a fighting chance. Ash calls for an Agile-style Thunderbolt. Though this move should be faster, Pikachu suffers from fatigue, allowing Flareon the time to respond with a dig, dodging the electrical attack. This leaves Pikachu open. Ash orders a quick attack to dodge, but it's too late. The response time of Pikachu is too slow, and it takes the dig, ending the battle. Retrieving his starter, Ash thanks it for the effort that it put in, and not to worry, they will win this. Wanting to turn on the pressure, Ash sends back in Infernape. Hitting the field, Infernape flinches slightly from the paralysis. The match starts, and Ash calls for a dig, to which Flint counters with one of his own. Tunneling down, both fire types clash beneath the battlefield, causing what damage they can to each other. As they surface, it appears the two are evenly matched, but then Flint recalls Flareon, throwing Ash off a little. This he doesn't understand, as Flareon is still pretty healthy. It's here that Flint reveals his final Pokemon. Magmortar, go! Exploding from its ball, the walking volcano makes its presence known. Ash can see that this is going to be just as tough as Flint's Infernape, but he tells his monkey to be ready. Things are in their favor, they just need to be strong. Ash gets the first move here, calling for a dig. Infernape breaks the ground, diving under the battlefield. Ash thinks that this will give him the advantage. However, Flint is no fool. Figuring Ash would try something like this, he chooses to turn his focus on Magmortar. Use Belly Drum, Flint yells. The magma blob begins beating its chest viciously, spewing fire as it thumps. Ash doesn't understand what's happening here, but Infernape won't let it continue, with Ash telling it to attack. Beginning to surface, Infernape bursts through the ground, but it's moving noticeably slower. The paralysis has set in, stunning the chimp right before its attack lands. Flint knows that this is his opportunity to take out Ash's best battler. Without missing a beat, Magmortar entombs Infernape in a mountain of boulders when Flint commands a rock slide. Ash calls to his Sinnoh starter. The boulders begin to fall slowly, revealing a very unconscious Infernape. Wait, how? There's no way that attack was enough to do that. I'm afraid you're wrong, Ash. It did indeed have the power to do that. It's here, things click. Belly Drum? Ash smiles. Yep, Flint confirms. At the cost of Magmortar's health, its attack is maximized. Now it makes sense. That's a huge gamble, but if your Pokemon is slower or is already weak, then it's almost a guaranteed win. Recalling Infernape, Ash thanks it for the effort that it put in and apologizes for not being more cautious. Fortunately, Ash has the perfect counter for this lava golem. Snorlax, I choose you. Shaking the ground on its entrance once more, Ash tells Snorlax to be ready, but then he notices something. His man-bear pig looks a little off. It's here that Ash recalls the battle with Rapidash, the poison jab. Well, he has the perfect remedy for that. A nap. Snorlax, use rest. Falling back, Snorlax slumbers away, ending its status condition and regaining its health all in one go. While this does dampen Flint's plans, it's not something he stands by and lets happen willingly, calling for a flamethrower that connects with the sleeping Snorlax. While this does seem to be in our hero's favor, the reality sets in when Magmortar gets in a few clean hits. Flamethrower, while not effective due to Snorlax's thick fat, still packs a punch, and Rock Slide is supercharged with the buff from Magmortar's stats. This eventually results in two things happening. Snorlax waking up, but with its health much lower than when it went to sleep. Ash, regretting his decision, tells Snorlax to go on the attack with the Body Slam. Barreling down the field, Snorlax attempts to end this in one shot. On the other hand, Flint is well aware of this thing's power, ordering a Rock Slide to counter. With its superior speed, Magmortar is able to execute the attack first, resulting in a flinch when a boulder knocks Snorlax in the head, nearly knocking it out. Ash knows he needs Snorlax, and though he doesn't want to, he calls for another rest. However, this is what Flint was waiting for. Magmortar is close enough now, so he calls for it. Use Low Kick. As Snorlax falls back, Ash watches as Magmortar uses its weight to increase the power of the Low Kick, causing his super heavyweight to knock itself out, all in one motion. With the ref calling the match, Ash is left in shock. Flint outthought him at every turn. Recalling Snorlax, Ash thinks about his options. He brought two Pokemon with him, just in case something like this happened. Weighing his options, there really is only one. He needs a Slugger, something that has proven its ability to hit and get hit. Pulling out his last ball, Flint comments how he enjoyed their battle. But it ends here. Flint, you've done what you can to push us, but you know what happens when we get pushed? We push back. Corphish, I choose you. Emerging from its ball, Ash pins all of his hopes on his pincers of power. Interesting choice, Ash, but like I said, you're still going to lose. Flint, we'll see about that. The battle starts with the two Pokemon stalemating a Flamethrower and a Bubble Beam. The Ruffian Pokemon hasn't battled in a while, and it has a lot of things to get out. This is shown when Flint orders a Rock Slide, but Corphish easily smacks the boulders away with a Crab Hammer. While even exchanges are great, Ash knows he needs more to win this battle, so he decides speed is their best option. Flint orders another Flamethrower. This is where Corphish's small size comes into play, easily evading the attack, as it skirts around the battlefield, inching ever closer to its target. Using this to his advantage, Ash keeps up the dodging strategy, even using the tunnels Infernape dug to evade the attacks. Eventually, the cost that Flint paid for his Arceus-like attack comes due. Magmortar is tired from the repeated failed attempts. Flint sees this and knows it's all or nothing, ordering one final Rock Slide. Magmortar rapid-fires boulders at Corphish. While dodging most of them, one ends up in the direct line of his lobster. Ash tells Corphish to charge a Crab Hammer on one claw and use the other to execute a Night Slash. This allows Corphish to cut through the rock and blindside Magmortar with the Crab Hammer, finally dropping it permanently. Flint claps. Ash, I'm impressed. That was well executed. Even I can admit when I was wrong. I didn't think you would get through Magmortar. Things are now truly anyone's game, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up without a fight. Recalling his golem, Flint sends in his last Pokemon. Flareon, go! The evolution hits the field with a tail of majestic flames. Finally, we are here, the final battle. Flint wastes no time calling for his own dig. Flareon tunnels down, giving Ash a surprise opening. Aiming to use Flint's tactics against him, Ash uses this opening to up Corefish's power. Use Sword Stance. Swinging its pincers wildly, Corefish strikes the ground, increasing its focus. Unfortunately, this doesn't go the same way as last time, as Flareon emerges, hitting its target with no hesitation. Corefish is knocked back, but still able to battle. Ash then orders it on the attack with a barrage of crab hammers. Now it's Flint's turn. He uses Flareon's speed to his advantage, dodging every slam of Corefish's mighty vice grips. Flint is feeling very confident watching Ash's Mon slow, ordering a Fire Blast that Corefish can't evade. Unable to dodge, it takes the powerful Fire Kanji, sending it back into the stadium barrier. Well, that's it, Flint says. No way you're coming back from that. But Ash just smiles, looking at Corefish. At the last second, using its giant pincers, it blocked most of the fire, minimizing the damage. But Corefish is at its limits, and one final push is all it will take. Realizing this, Flint calls for a battle-ending attack. Giga Impact. Flareon charges with full intentions on ending this battle. Aware of what is about to happen, Ash tells Corefish to charge in, with both crab hammers ready. Now within a foot of each other, Ash calls for his play. Corefish, use crab hammer on the ground with all you have. The one pincer hits, raising a wall in its wake. This creates a barrier that Flareon must break through. Unable to change its trajectory, Flareon puts all it has into this attack, only to be met with the crab hammer on the other side, ending this battle in less than a second. The crowd watches in dead silence. That battle was awesome, the ref yells on the mic. Ash, on the other hand, is kind of impressed. Truth be told, he didn't think that would work. Flint recalls his Mon, then walks out to Ash as he celebrates with Corefish. Ash, you proved you could handle the rigors of a high-level battle. That was the lesson you needed to learn here. Don't let the pressure of the situation overwhelm you. You will have many different opponents, and if you hope to be the champion of Sinnoh, you need to know how to address each one of them individually, or you will fail. That was the lesson you needed to learn in order to win here. You've done that. If you can make it past Lucian, I think you have a chance to beat Cynthia. Flint then takes his leave. Flint, don't worry, Ash thinks to himself. I will face Cynthia. Up in the champions box, Lucian looks down to Ash. Prove your worthiness, Ash. Show the world it's your time. Later that night, Ash is on a call with his mom. She says that she's so proud of him, but if he loses the next battle, she won't think any less of him. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Mom, he thinks to himself. Oh, by the way, Mom, I do have a favor to ask. The conversation then fades as we do to the next day. Ash is thinking about his next lineup when he gets a call from Brock. He follows up with him after each battle to make sure Ash's head is still in the right place. He tells his old friend not to worry. Smiling, Brock then asks about Dawn. It's here that Ash reveals he really hasn't seen much of her. She didn't even come to watch his battle with Flint. It's even at the point that they don't even share a room anymore. Brock is concerned about this. Did him leaving affect her that much? He asks Ash to have Dawn call him when he sees her next. Ash agrees, hanging up the phone as he plans out his next battle. Now we transition to the next morning. Wagner is up bright and early to enjoy his days of relaxation. While walking around the center, he finds himself outside. It's here that Bertha and Dawn are present. The two seem to be having a practice battle, but it's not just any battle. This is a contest battle. Bertha and Dawn seem to be doing their best to out-display each other. Things seem heated. Dawn has a loom of determination in her eye that Wagner knows all too well. The determination to win. The Sunnyshoar leader watches as the battle comes to an end with Dawn in celebration. It seems this is the first time she is able to best Bertha. It's here Bertha notices their one-person audience. Oh, Wagner. So, you finally arrived, Bertha questions. Well, I've actually been here a little over a week. How come you haven't come to see me, the Elite Four member inquires. Well, I figured I wouldn't need to until after the Champions League ends, so I've just been kinda hanging out. I suppose so. I won't make the announcement until after the conclusion, so it should be fine. But don't go anywhere until I do, Bertha scolds. Don't worry, I won't, Wagner tells his senior. All the while, Dawn watches in silence, wondering what they are talking about. Now, we are 2 days before Ash's final Elite Four battle, but it's not our hero we find. It's actually the other side of Sinnoh we find ourselves, with the regional professor, Rowan. He's developed the urge to do some field research, looking to make contact with the Lady of the Lake, Mesprit. The old tree finds himself wandering through the wilderness, making his way to the lake he knows the legendary resides in. However, the stoic researcher is finding it harder to make this trek, much more so than in the past. Sinnoh is a beautiful place, but even in this modern time, the environment and terrain is still very harsh compared to those of other regions. The Pokemon have been uneasy as of late, and Rowan hopes to find out the answer on the shores of the lake. Upon arrival, Rowan finds an unexpected sight, but not too surprising. The remnants of Team Galactic, or to be specific, Sharon. He and the muscle of his group, Commander Saturn, are engaging in a battle with the Lake Guardian. It appears the attempt is to capture it once again. Rowan is never one to let such atrocities stand, confronting the evildoers, demanding they stop this at once. This only triggers laughter from the surrounding grunts, with Sheeran telling Rowan that he had better leave before he ends up the next one captured. Then something happens that Rowan has never seen in his 60 years. He's ignored. None of them see him as a threat. I mean, sure, he's old, but at least he could strike fear with one of his soul-piercing gazes. But nothing, not even a second thought. Unable to accept this fact, the stubborn old man decides that he will have to set these whippersnappers straight, charging in to stop this madness. Unfortunately, he's quickly dealt with when Mars and Jupiter appear, subduing him with their skunk tank and Perugly. Rowan watches helplessly as they once again capture the Lake Guardian, unable to do anything. It is here the old man learned the consequences of his actions, while Sharon telling him that because he wouldn't leave, Rowan will now be a permanent guest of Team Galactic. Cursing himself for not being more capable, Rowan longs for his younger self, a trainer of unmatched abilities. Team Galactic begins to take the professor away as he closes his eyes, not wanting to witness his own inability. Luckily, Rowan's future as the professor of Team Galactic will not come to pass, as he hears 3 commands: Hydro Pump, Thunder, Dark Pulse. Open his eyes, Rowan sees 3 Pokemon he knows far too well: Blastoise, Electivire, and Umbreon, and with them is their trainer, the young but capable Gary Oak. From here, things move fast. Gary is able to quickly deal with Team Galactic, driving them off and freeing Mesprit. Gary helps the professor to his feet, telling him that he shouldn't go off on research trips alone. It's a good thing Gary was able to catch up, or things could have turned out much different. But Rowan says nothing, frustration plastered all across his face. Now we move forward one day. Ash is on the phone with his mom and Professor Oak. Oak confirms that the Pokemon Ash has with him are the ones he will be using. Delia cuts in, telling Ash that he had better not let them get hurt. This battle will be the toughest one yet. Smiling, Ash says don't worry, he will make sure that they are all taken care of. Ash then tells them goodbye, hanging up to mentally prepare himself for the match that has to take place in the morning. On the other side of the campus that sits at the foot of the stadium, we can find Lucian out for a nightly stroll, just enjoying the cool breeze. It's here that he happens across Cynthia, who is picking up one of her favorite meals, ice cream. Hungry, Lucian questions. Yeah, I've been getting the craving for sweets lately, Cynthia replies. Hey Cynthia, can I ask you something? Sure, Lucian, you know we can always talk. Do things feel different as of late to you? Like there's going to be a massive shift? You know, ever since Team Galactic had attacked, things have felt off. Not bad, just like they're moving forward, the champion says. Glad I'm not the only one to have noticed it, Lucian replies. Yeah, but one thing we can't fight is time. It will keep moving forward. Things will change. Nothing lasts forever. You are right about that, Lucian says, as he and Cynthia watch Bertha and Dawn practice off in the distance, and the night fades away. Now, we find ourselves in the stadium. A packed crowd chants the name of Ash, the lone trainer that has set the Sinnoh League ablaze. He's become their hero, Lucian thinks to himself, as he looks across the field to the first opponent he's had on this stage in a few years, as the master of the Elite Four yells, catching his attention. Show me why you deserve to be here. Give me everything you've got. No need to ask, Lucian. I was planning on it. Both trainers ready their respective Pokeballs. Normally, it would be up to Lucian to show Ash his Pokemon first, but that seems to be a moot point as both trainers send in their first combatants at the same time. Spiritomb, I choose you! Emerging from the balls, Ash's Spectral Immortal readies itself for the first battle it's had in almost a month, while on the other side of the field, a much more dual option takes to the battlefield for Lucian. Girafarig, go! Landing gingerly, it takes its battle position. I know Lucian is a Psychic-type trainer, Ash thinks, so Spiritomb is the perfect counter. Taking the first move, Ash orders a Shadow Sneak. Vanishing into the shadows of the battlefield, the ghost emerges ready to strike, only to find itself unable to land a blow. Out of frustration, the Stone Spectre attempts to attack again and again, but Ash stops it, ordering distance between the two, while Lucian takes the time to call for a Light Screen. Putting up the shield, Ash has clued into the reason why Spiritomb was unable to land a blow. Girafarig is part normal type, Ash says. That's right, you caught on quick, Lucian responds. Most of the time, the match is over before any of my opponents can figure that out. It's the perfect counter for a ghost type. Ash has to admit he was caught off guard, but it won't happen again, as he orders a Dark Pulse. Charging the attack, Lucian counters with a Shadow Ball, canceling the two moves. Both Pokemon seem to be even, but things quickly shift when Lucian orders Girafarig to rush in. Surprisingly, it's really fast. Both Ash and Spiritomb had difficulty tracking its movements, only able to catch traces of its shadow. Ash orders his Mon to wait, let their opponent come to them. Doing so, the ghastly stone calms its senses, letting things focus. It's here that Lucian orders a Shadow Ball. Wanting to finally put some damage in, Ash calls for a counter shield. Spinning its souls rapidly, Spiritomb uses Dark Pulse to block the Shadow Ball. Upon Ash's command, it expands the sphere of influence, striking Girafarig with a stab advantage move, brushing it aside like a common housefly. While this was a big hit, Girafarig is still able to move. Assessing his options, Lucian decides to recall it, now that he has information on the one Pokemon that could be a problem. Wondering what his opponent is up to, Ash tells Spiritomb to be ready. Things are about to get interesting. Right you are, Ash. Gallade, go! Taken to the field in a defensive stance, the Mental Knight awaits its trainer's command. Again, Ash finds himself in an awkward position when he tries an agile-style Shadow Sneak. This attack was meant to be a test, and as he thought, the fighting type makes Spiritomb a very difficult choice to keep in. Knowing he has priority, Ash orders a Dark Pulse. However, this is useless, as Lucian orders Gallade to use its typing and the light screen to its advantage. Pushing through the attack, it's like Gallade feels nothing, as it lands a very real and highly critical Night Slash. When seen in pain, Spiritomb contracts a bit from the assault. Realizing that things are not in his favor, Ash recalls his Pokemon in an attempt to gain some sort of control. Wanting to match power with power, Ash declares, "Sceptile, I choose you." The Wood Gecko takes to the field, ready to test its bladesmanship against Gallade's. Knowing the light screen is still up for a few more turns, Ash goes for physical damage, calling for Leaf Blade. Charging the edges of its most powerful move, Sceptile quickly closes the gap. However, this is where Lucian shows off Gallade doesn't need to be face-to-face to deal real damage, calling for a Psycho Cut. Blades of psychic energy begin firing in the direction of Ash's Grass Lizard, which is promptly dodged. This finds the two swordsmons locked in a struggle of blades when the Leaf Blade collides with the charged energy of Gallade's forearms. Pushing for dominance, neither refuse to give an inch, but here is where a small detail comes into play. The stance Gallade has taken. It's perfect for close-up battles. As Ash realizes this too late, when Sceptile's attack quickly loses strength only to be met with an unguarded swath of psychic energy. Sceptile is struck down with the precision of an assassin. Ash is left speechless. Sceptile has never taken a beating like that, this quickly in a battle before. "So Ash, is this your best? Because I'm growing concerned if it is." Shaking off its stunned silence, Ash responds by telling Lucian that that attack was powerful, but they haven't seen anything yet. "Right, Sceptile?" Opening its eyes, the Hoenn starter stands up, as if it wasn't even hit. Then, Lucian reveals the last altercation in his head. That's it. So a Leaf Blade absorbed the front of the attack. It was only a millisecond, but it made all the difference between victory and defeat. It's here that we see the light screen fade, evening out the battle for both sides. "Well, Ash, your tenacity is admirable. I knew when I met you, if we ever battled, things would be on the edge." Smirking, Ash tells Lucian he hasn't seen anything yet. "Sceptile, use an energy ball." Gathering the energy needed, the Wood Lizard prepares to fire. However, Lucian has a defense ready, as Gallade strikes the ground with the force of the cosmos that sends stones with the razor's edge in the direction of its opponent. Ash knows this is Stone Edge, so he orders something that tips the scales in his favor. "Sceptile, use the stones as a platform to gain some height." Knowing what its trainer has in mind, Sceptile skips across the sky, past the barrier. Using its superior speed, the gecko closes the distance, firing the energy ball and connecting with its target, causing it to flinch from the attack. Lucian is impressed, using the attack to create some cover needed. Now, smirking to himself, Lucian aims to use this to his advantage, telling Gallade to use the closeness and fire a Drain Punch. With Sceptile falling, it has little way to defend itself, but one last chance. "Sceptile, use Detect." As the punch crosses its path, Sceptile fades just out of the direction, allowing it to escape unharmed. Lucian commends Ash on his quick thinking. Sceptile has lasted far longer than he had thought. It's here that Sceptile's ace in the hole activates. Overgrow. Knowing things are at a head, Ash needs to end this. The feeling is mutual for Lucian. He's seen the battle with Sceptile in the past. This thing is dangerous if it can build any momentum. Ash tells Sceptile to use everything it has into its Leaf Blades, then combine it with the Quick Attack. Thinking quickly, Lucian orders a Psycho Cut, but they are sent in the ground as a blockade that Sceptile must dodge, losing the momentum it values when it tries to close out a battle. This gives Gallade the time needed to charge its next attack, Night Slash. With this battle reaching its climax, Gallade begins its dash. In a moment of brilliance, only the two combatants can see exchanges are made before they separate opposite of each other. Staring each other down, both Pokemon flinch, only for Sceptile to collapse under its own weight, giving the first victory of the match to Lucian. Both trainers recall their Pokemon, Lucian knowing that Gallade needs to rest if it hopes to have any chance later. Ash, on the other hand, is worried about his lizard. It took a pretty hard beating, even Overgrow wasn't enough, but he can't worry about that now, as the ref is calling for the start of the next battle. Knowing he needs to swing things in his favor, Ash decides his next choice. Buizel, I choose you! Buizel hits the field, ready for its chance to throw down with some strong competitors. Knowing Ash's battle style, Lucian needs to keep up on his defense, so he sends back in Girafarig. Ash starts big, calling for a Water Pulse. As the burst of water closes in, Girafarig raises another Light Screen, cutting the damage in half. Ash knew this was coming, and follows up with a Sonic Boom. Lucian has the perfect counter for this though, calling for a Charge Beam. The focused electric attack fires through the Sonic Boom. While it still hits, the Light Screen and the Charge Beam cut its power, while Buizel is struck with its greatest weakness. Now on the clock, Ash has to come up with something quick. Luckily for Buizel, it doesn't take long, as its trainer orders a counter shield. While it doesn't stop the Charge Beam, it does create opportunity. With the pillars of water whipping around, Ash tells Buizel to use Ice Punch on itself. This turns the water into ice as they strike Girafarig, catching Lucian off guard. The Light Screen won't stop a physical ice attack. The Elite Four Master orders his Mon to finish it. Unfortunately, it's not enough, as the last Ice Whip strikes for the final time, ending Girafarig once and for all. Following the deformity, Lucian contemplates that battle. Buizel won, but at a cost to itself. It was caught in the Charge Beam for more time than it should have been. Plus, the Light Screen is still in effect for a couple more turns. Knowing this, Lucian's next choice is clear. Espeon, go! Now that the Psychic Evolution is in play, Lucian is confident. Starting the battle, Ash wastes no time calling for an Aqua Jet. Lucian, confident in his choices, stacks his defensive tactics by calling for a Reflect. While Buizel is able to land the attack, the damage is very low. So low in fact, Espeon doesn't even flinch. This is followed by a swift response. Espeon, use Psychic. Stunning Buizel in midair, Espeon prevents its retreat. Ash tells Buizel to fire a Water Pulse, but it's unable to move. Lucian responds in kind with a slam on the battlefield. This thud leaves Buizel shaken from the encounter. Here, Ash recalls it, knowing he has little choice if he wants it to battle the real opponent he had planned for it. Ash readies his next ball, with little other option if he hopes to cause any damage. Heracross, I choose you. The Battle Beetle hits the field, ready for its chance. Lucian starts things off with a Haymaker, ordering another Psychic. Ash responds by telling Heracross to use Rock Tomb, but the target isn't Espeon. It's Heracross, to block it from the attempt to capture it. This creates a shell of boulders around Heracross, keeping it close to the ground. Ash's game plan here is to be defensive. This forces Lucian to focus his effort on the rocks, while Ash has time to craft a comeback. Espeon slowly cracks away at the rocks with the combination of Swift and Psychic. Ash watches this, waiting for his chance to move, already having formulated a plan. Heracross, be patient, he yells. The insect watches as a fissure forms, slowly widening. Lucian, seeing an opening, orders a Swift, hoping it's small enough to squeeze through the gap, but he won't have to wait to find out, as this is the moment that Ash and his partner have been waiting for. Heracross, use Mega Horn! Bursting through the stones, Heracross tanks the Swift as it powers through to land the ultimate bug attack for great damage. Unfortunately, this wasn't enough to compensate for the Reflect in play, leaving Espeon with just enough health to survive. Lucian counters this with a Psychic in hopes of returning the favor, but Ash uses this to his advantage, recalling Heracross, then declaring, Spiritomb, I choose you! Here, two things happen. The Light Screen fades as Spiritomb negates the Psychic using its Dark typing for a positive gain, a free switch. With the defensive oppression ending, Ash calls for a Dark Pulse. This is met with a Signal Beam from Espeon, cancelling the two out. The Evolution really only has one move that can affect Spiritomb here, so Lucian leads with it. Ash wants to end this, so he pulls out all the stops. Spiritomb, Strong Style Dark Pulse. This makes the victor clear, as even with the type advantage in moves, the Signal Beam cannot stand up to a Strong Style as the Dark Pulse pushes through and ends the battle with a decisive finish. Lucian recalls his Pokemon, thanking Espeon for the effort it put in. Knowing he has a Pokemon that is meant to face Spiritomb, Lucian sends back in Gallade. However, Ash isn't making the same mistake, recalling it for later. He has to be smart about his choices. So, Heracross, I choose you, Ash declares, in hopes his fighting type will be the better of the two. However, that's not the only reason. As demonstrated by Ash's first move, Brick Break, Lucian counters with a Drain Punch that leads the two to meet in the middle with opposing strikes. Two things happen here. The Brick Break shatters what's left of the Reflect, but at a cost, as Gallade starts to leech the health from its opponent. While this is happening, from the Champions box above, the only inhabitant is Cynthia. The other two members of the Elite Four are off doing their own thing. Flint is with Volkner, watching from the crowd, while Bertha is training with Dawn. And Aaron, well, Aaron's training, because no matter the outcome of this, he will be the first to challenge the next champion. Back on the field, Ash realizes the contact has been too long, as Heracross is starting to waver. Happy with the damage they caused, Lucian tells Gallade to pull back. However, Ash isn't done. Now that the Reflect is down, Heracross, use Mega Horn. The big bad beetle charges at the retreating Gallade, much to the chagrin of Lucian. You got this, Ash yells. However, Lucian counters this with a Stone Edge, as Gallade hits the terrain with its fist, causing a wall to burst up. Undeterred, Ash orders Heracross to charge a Brick Break. Smash through, he commands, but doing so only gets met with a Psycho Cut, as the Mega Horn lands. Both landed, resulting in a double knockout, much to the surprise of each trainer. While this does seem unfortunate, Ash sees the silver lining. The numbers game is now in his favor, though 2 of his remaining 3 Pokemon have battled. Recalling both their Pokemon, Lucian tells Ash he's thoroughly enjoyed this battle to this point. However, don't enjoy that momentum you have, as it ends here. Alakazam, go! The Kinetic Fox levitates above the field, channeling its energy for the battle ahead. Realizing he can't hold off any longer, Ash pulls out his final Pokeball. Thanks, Mom, he whispers to the ball. Mimey, I choose you. Hitting the battlefield, the one Pokemon Ash has always had, but never battled with, prepares for its pro battle debut. Fun versus focus, the theme of this battle. With Flint and Wagner spectating from the sidelines, they can only think that if Lucian had made it to Alakazam, this match may be over, unless Ash can find a creative way to deal with it. They focus on the battle as the first commands are given. Alakazam, use Nasty Plot. Mimey, use Light Screen. It's here the reason why Ash chose Mimey becomes known. The Light Screen will help deal with the psychic typing. Well, Ash, should we see who has the better grasp on our typing? Lucian suggests. Smiling, Ash doesn't hesitate. Mimey, use Psychic. Lucian gives the same order, but it's clear who has the better ability, as Papa Ketchum is forced back, much to his dismay. Smiling, Lucian knows that he has this in the bag, calling for a Focus Blast. Seeing an opportunity here, Ash orders a Shadow Ball. The 2 moves clash, but the Ghost typing is far superior, allowing him to even out the damage between the 2. Not wanting to let up, Ash tells Mimey to use Shadow Ball once more. However, this is cut down with a shockwave that powers through, lighting up the Mime. Now smoldering, Ash is beginning to realize just how outmatched Mimey is. It is powerful, but it doesn't have the training to compete at this level. Even with the Light Screen, those attacks are very dangerous. Alakazam is one of my oldest Pokemon, Ash. If you wish to beat it, then thinking outside of the box is the only way. Well, if that's all it is, then we got this, right, Mimey? The silent Padre stands back up with a very strange smile on its face. It's kind of unsettling when Lucian thinks about it, but this Pokemon has not demonstrated anything special as far as battle talent. However, if there's one thing that the Master Elite has learned from watching this boy, is don't underestimate him or his Pokemon. With that in mind, Lucian orders another Shockwave. This is where Ash sees his opening, calling for a Psychic to redirect the attack. Feeling confident in another mental struggle, Lucian orders the same. Now at a tug of war over control of the electricity, the 2 push as hard as they can. This causes the Shockwave to become unstable, exploding and hitting both Pokemon. It's here that Ash notices Mimey's Light Screen, giving him an idea. Mimey, use Shadow Ball, he calls. Following the command, it does so, only for Lucian to counter it with another Shockwave. Now it's time. Ash tells Mimey to use Light Screen again, which strikes Lucian as odd. Why use it when another one is already in effect? There'll be no difference in the defense. But then he sees what Ash is up to, as he uses a Gallade strategy from earlier in the battle. The Light Screens are being set up as walls, but Ash takes it one step further, ordering Mimey to close in while erecting the screens. Alakazam's space to move quickly tightens. Lucian orders a Focus Blast, trying to use its increased power to break the barriers. But Ash is one step ahead as Mimey fires a Shadow Ball into the screens, using them to ricochet the attack in different directions. Alakazam cannot keep track while charging its own attack. It's here that Lucian notices when it will hit, telling Alakazam which direction to fire. Unfortunately, it's too close, resulting in an explosion. Alakazam is rocked against a Light Screen, only for it and Lucian to hear one final command from Ash. Mimey, Drain Punch! The Mr. Mime emerges from the dust, connecting with the jaw of the fox, sapping it of what strength it has left while healing itself all in one hit. Once the exchange ends, Alakazam drops, with Mimey as the winner. With the ref calling it, Lucian recalls his 4th Pokemon. Well, that certainly was a surprise. Just when I think I have you all figured out, you seem to evolve mid-battle. It's here that Lucian witnessed something even more unexpected. Ash and Mr. Mime are arguing, only for Ash to recall it. Wondering what's up, Lucian inquires about this. Ash sighs. The only way Mr. Mime would battle for him was if it was only for one battle. So, since it won, Mime refuses to battle any longer. So it's willing to take a forfeit, Lucian asks? Yeah, It's very stubborn, much more than any one of my other Pokemon. This brings an odd smile to Lucian's face, one that doesn't normally appear. All the while, Flint and Wagner are in shock that this boy could very well be the next champion of Sinnoh. This gets a giggle from Cynthia, as this oddity could soon be her opponent. Well, I suppose it can't be helped. Your Mr. Mime is a very strong Pokemon, so it's earned input on how it battles. Yeah, I guess you're right, Lucian. So, should we finish this battle then? I wouldn't have it any other way, Ash. Bronzong, go! This is it, the final match. While Ash is happy to be here, he is slightly worse than he was hoping to be. Mimey's refusal to battle really set him back, but he won't admit that to Lucian. Digging in, Ash makes his best choice. Spiritomb, I choose you. With both Pokemon emerging for this battle, it's clear that Ash is at a disadvantage. With the start of the battle called, Ash orders a Dark Pulse. Knowing that the light screen is still up for Ash, Lucian calls for a Gyro Ball. Even though Dark Pulse is super effective, the spin of the Gyro Ball and Bronzong's Steel typing mitigates the damage as it cuts through Spiritomb's attack, striking with the weight of a mountain. This shakes Ash. That thing is even faster than the last time he saw it battle. This is going to be a problem. Realizing he has one path, Ash calls for an Agile-style Shadow Sneak. Knowing he can't dodge this, Lucian mounts his special properties, calling for a Calm Mind. Spiritomb comes in with the speed of lightning, allowing it to land a second hit with a Dark Pulse. Fortunately, this causes some good damage, but Bronzong is quickly able to shake it off, as Lucian orders an Earthquake. As the ground shakes beneath them, Ash realizes this will end Spiritomb. With one final command, Ash calls for a Curse. A shadowy aura envelops Bronzong as the stone specter withers and faints. Ash smiles. Thanks, he says, recalling his Pokemon. Now we have reached it. The final battle. The one Ash knew would happen. He flashes back to the day before, when he told his Pokemon who they were battling. One in particular stepped forward, making it clear there was one that it had to take on. Well, now it's your chance. Weasel, I choose you. The mighty Bell and the Water Weasel stare each other down, both battle-worn, but the weight of the world is riding on them. With their last encounter fresh in its mind, Weasel doesn't intend to lose. With the final start given, both Pokemon mount an offensive of Aqua Jet and Gyro Ball. Colliding, the two are dead even, but the closeness is what Lucian desired, as he orders Bronzong to use Psychic. With Weasel so close, there is no room to dodge. Now captured, Weasel struggles to break free. Unfortunately, this only results in being whipped around and slammed repeatedly like a ragdoll. Knowing he has to do something, Ash watches closely, then it hits him. With Bronzong beginning its next Psychic-powered slam, Ash tells Weasel to use its momentum in combination with Aqua Jet. Doing so, it's able to finally escape the grasp of its opponent. However, they solve this problem only for another one to rise. The wall is directly in Weasel's path. If it hits at this speed, then the match will end. Ash tells Weasel to use Sonic Boom while inside the Water Shield. Knowing what its trainer's up to, Weasel does so with an interesting result. The Water type is rocketed into the air skyward, having used the boom to change its trajectory. Now with massive height to its back, Ash and Weasel plan to use this by implementing one last move, a longtime favorite. Lucian, finally aware that Bronzong is starting to feel the effects of that curse, knows that this will be the final exchange. So, he orders a Gyro Ball aimed skybound. The two charge in one final moment of glory as Ash orders an Aqua Jet. With the speed of Weasel's fall, its attack becomes supercharged. However, this still looks in Lucian's favor. That is, until Ash adds one final thing, a Water Pulse. Now spinning with the ball of Water Aura at the forefront, the two smash into each other with a blood-curdling thud. Both combatants hit the ground, completely drained from their battle today. What follows next is a race against time, as Weasel and Bronzong struggle to get up. But in the end, the Iron Bell is unable to fight, as the curse takes the last of its strength, and Ash is declared the winner of this battle. Lucian just smirks, seemingly accepting the results. Recalling Bronzong, Lucian thanks Ash for their battle, telling the young trainer is well worth the wait to have their battle here in the Champions League. He looks forward to Ash's final battle. Flint and Wagner are ecstatic. This kid has beaten both of them and made his way to Cynthia. This battle will be one that is talked about in legend, while Aaron has only one thing in his mind, the next challenge he gets. Outside the stadium, Don and Bertha stop in the middle of their training. It looks like your friend won his match. Yeah, Don says. Ash, you're not going to be the only one who's getting stronger here, as Don tells Bertha. The Hoenn Grand Festival starts in 3 weeks, so they better get back to work. And that, my friends, is where we're going to be leaving this part.
And that's all we have for What If Ash Won the Sinnoh League Part 15. How'd you guys feel about this? Do you feel like the battles with Flint and Lucian were ones that, how should I say, got retribution for the earlier battles he had with them. Do you feel like they were Elite Four level? And of course, are you excited for the finale of this year-long epic journey that we've been on together? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to support me further, please follow me on other platforms like Twitter or the Discord. Up in there if you want to get to chat with other people and possibly create your own content, or you just want to talk Pokemon or any other anime. And also, if you want to help support the channel further, please consider going over to Patreon. For only $5 a month, you'll get up to a week's early access to all of my videos. Everything that you can donate helps get us to a larger audience. With all that being said, let's sign out the video the best way we know how, by thanking the sponsors, the patrons. Silverheart Soul, Robert, Vegito Gaming 78, Andrew McCartney, Hollow Sif, Julian Rodriguez, Ruben Watson, Lord Explosion Murder, Assassin 139, Flyer 943, Shadow Dragon, K McKnight, Kevin Atran, Drax, True Vault, Adrian Carr, Dino King, Dalen Silva, Fox King, Warren E. Taylor, Plus Ultraman, Megar, Mike Logan, Kendall Green, Earth Dragon, Josh Waldrop, John Larson, Forbidden Super, Dylan Nicholson, Christopher Grant, Gerald Smith, Normandy 1998, Chris Lackman, The Shadows, Trainer Rad 164, Robot, Johnny, Brad 1, Adam Jimenez, Ifosa Amid, Indigo Saturn 64, Kevin Malula, Chris Collins, Nicholas Onthank, Christian Anderson, and Thomas Watson. Thank you all very much for the support, and I will see you in the next video.